Thanks.
Thank you very much for your welcome, and thank you very much to Brian and the organisers and volunteers, everyone who's put together all the effort to make this conference work. It's been really a great experience, and I just felt really welcome when I walked in this morning, and it's been a really positive day, and so far I've got a lot out of it. In fact, I made a list of things that I wanted to add to my talk, but I'm not sure if I can remember them during the talk. So I'm, as it said on the poster there, I'm, I guess, a web professional. I'm not a developer or a programmer. I did start off as a web designer in around 96. And I've then moved on to become web development manager at the State Library. And I have a team of 3 developers, 2 PHP Drupal developers, and 1 database administrator. We are in the IT team, and we also work very closely with the communications team at the State Library, and they usually handle the project management and the content, and then we work through them to initiate, when we initiate new projects and establish requirements, that sort of thing. A lot of my talk will cover some of the similar ground that Daniel from DWAR covered this morning. A show of hands who attended Daniel's presentation. Thank you. It's about 6 people, I guess, from this group. But yeah, okay. You're in the wrong room. Good. I thought.
I don't want to listen to you.
You're welcome. That's fine. Okay, so I get into the presentation. So, as we said, I'm from the State Library of Victoria. If I was working there 100 years ago, that's what it would have looked like. But unfortunately, there was no Drupal then. Now, this is what it looks like, and my office is down this corner of the building over here, and Brian, who's been working with us on this current project, has also been coming into the office with us from time to time as well. State Library of Victoria is our operations manager used to say was the greatest internet cafe in the Southern Hemisphere. It's a great place to come and get free wireless internet, or if you're a university student, come in and meet your friends and have a sleep in one of the chairs as well. It's got, one of the hidden things about the library is the actual reference staff who can help you. If you have a question, any kind of question, they would love to help you. And so, and there's a wide range of expertise there. You get a specific person who has an area of expertise that you're interested in. And when people say to me, oh, I'm sorry you have to work at a library because Google, of course, has killed libraries. Well, in fact, we're getting, the key to information is to actually navigating your way through, and that's where a library can help you, and particularly the reference staff. Okay, so the presentation is about a new exhibition at the State Library called Love and Devotion. It's starting in March and it's running for 3 months. And it covers some historic manuscripts from a range of different cultures there, and it's done in conjunction with the University of Oxford, and this particular exhibition is about getting these manuscripts out of the collections in Oxford and putting them on display and getting some experts to come and talk about the material. And we ran a similar kind of exhibition a few years ago called Medieval Imagination with medieval manuscripts, and it was the biggest thing that the library's ever done, and we're expecting that this will also be a really significant exhibition. So we did in terms of the online component, the reason why I'm here today, well, we did a user survey of our users during the year last year, and we found that actually the online exhibitions component of the library is one of the more successful things. So we'd like to build on our strengths, and here we are getting into this new project. But what's what's the key component to the project? Well, a few years ago when this Drupal 5 was launched, the library hadn't heard of Drupal. But in 2009, we wanted to get rid of our old CMS, and we came to a point where we had to make a decision, and it was brought down to the technical staff, and to come up and to try and analyze that situation. So this was in preparation for our project which was released last year in June 2010. We had some requirements to drive the decision point. The library, to its credit, wanted an open source product, and it was quite a surprise to us and the dev team. We thought, wow, what are they talking about? Do they really want open source? That is great. It was something that we were lobbying for. It did match our skill set, or the available skill set that we could access, which were primarily PHP developers. In fact, we start off with completely zero Drupal capability. But the Drupal concept looked like something that we could get our staff into really quickly. Not only that, but once the new CMS was installed, the developers would be able to get in and be able to continue to work on it and develop it. So rather than a kind of a black box scenario, which is what we had in our previous CMS, it was going to be an ongoing development. It came down to a decision between Drupal and Joomla. And the point that Drupal stood out was the developer community was very strong, and we would have ongoing support for our developers to whatever they wanted to do, they could get that support. We did look at My Source Matrix as well. That was one of the considerations, but we felt like we were really actually looking for a pure open source option, which is where, say, both Drupal or Joomla fit into. So, as I mentioned, we have our own team. At that stage, we had a couple more staff, but we've since downsized. We've got some budget restrictions. We're back down to 2 developers now. So, what do we find when we use Drupal? The previous speaker here mentioned that some users, like coming from a base of very limited computer knowledge or whatever, the average user might find it difficult to get into the CMS or particularly use some of the more complex components. But from our point of view, it's actually an easy-to-use CMS, and the staff that we work with are all, quite computer literate, and they found getting into the CMS not a problem. As long as we can explain clearly what their requirements are, all the tasks are quick and easy to do. We'll love the advantage that theming provides for design, flexibility. We love the ability to tap into modules. We probably didn't appreciate at the start, but as we got into Drupal and as security has become a greater issue for us, we have benefited from the strong security that Drupal has. And I think Dimitri touched on that this morning, and that security is such a high issue in terms of priorities, and it's well looked after by the Drupal community. So again, the community of collaboration, that's such a strong point for us. And also, we got to meet Dries last year when he visited the library for Drupal meetup. That was that we hosted. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see this graphic, but another thing about the community is that there isn't a closed inner circle. The inner circle equals the Drupal community as a whole, and that is a great strength that it has. That it is open. Anybody can contribute, step up, and make a difference. I guess for my experience, like working with our team in the office, I'm not 100% sure if our Drupal developers have logins on Drupal.org. Brian, you might know, but yeah, yeah. So there is, of course, there's going to be a group in the Drupal community who are just downloading the software, installing it, and running it, and without contributing back. But it's part of our, one of our goals is to try and encourage our developers to get more involved in the community. And Brian has been, I know, keen on that as well. So we're trying to, hopefully we'll see that develop with this project. It's a good opportunity for that to happen. So what have we achieved so far with Drupal at the library? Well, I think that graph shows we've got 3/4 of our traffic is now delivered via Drupal, and we're up to 220,000 views per month at the moment overall. And this is our Drupal sites that we have got at the moment. Our main corporate site is the one we delivered last year, and not last year, but 2010. And our mobile site, which we delivered as a separate installation last year. I wonder if can anybody try that on their phone, see if that's working. Then I'll be confident to know that's all okay. Inside a Dog, which is a young adult literature site, which is discussed in the previous presentation, which was developed by Atomic. Ergo is a redevelopment site that of an existing site we did last year, and the last one, Berkham Wills, was also developed by Atomic. So where are we on the Drupal learning curve? Yeah, for me, as not a developer, I haven't yet done a Drupal install, so I'm something probably I should do. But according to Dimitri, maybe I should go and get Lego Mindstorms first and then build up from there. So I think I'm not sure if Brian agrees with me, but we were probably up here somewhere where we were doing some of this stuff. But then with the help of Reality Loop, with this current project, hopefully we're getting up a couple of steps. And certainly a couple of those areas there that we can improve on. But that's what it's all about, just learning and improving. So how about this actual project that we're working on now? Well, the idea of it is to deliver a platform for delivering this online exhibition. And it will be it is an independent installation of Drupal from our corporate site. It's quite a significant extra investment that we've made, but it's all about moving forward in terms of our use of Drupal and just occupying the online space a lot more effectively. We felt it was a great opportunity to work with Reality Loop on this project, and through Brian's help, we're able to use our first Drupal 7 installation. Previously, all our systems were, our sites were in 6, and so, of course, it's not yet launched. That will be happening in February, but we felt that Drupal 7 could offer quite a few benefits in terms of the improvements in the functionality. It's a good time to get involved with Drupal 7 because there's a lot of development happening at the moment. We also really wanted to avoid having to upgrade the site in the future from 6 to 7. So we thought, well, we don't want to miss the boat. We don't want to be left behind in terms of development. So that's the point at which we can jump into 7. We're not, of course, we still maintain our 6 capability. But we're just adding on this new aspect. So Drupal 7, it's as we've got I guess what we're looking for there with Drupal 7 is getting into modules which are incorporating a lot of functionality that people have wanted to put into 6, but we're hanging off. But also, I guess we felt that, well, if we're still going with 6, well, there may be stuff that you wanted to, advances you wanted to make with 6, but that development isn't happening with those modules. So that gives us the opportunity to start a beautiful love affair with version 7. So I've got there a list of benefits that we've identified, and a couple of references down the bottom there, which also I think cover these pretty well. Now, when I look at this list, I'm thinking, well, a lot of these quite technical things, and I'm not a developer, so how can I explain them? But if you have a look through there, I think that, and if you've worked with 7, hopefully you'd agree with those. But this is what the developers have discussed with me in terms of what they think it is. Yeah, ability to do more stuff. Well, that's great. Yeah, it's kind of funny because our developers, my staff on my team are not here this weekend, but it's amusing for them to know that I'm presenting on this topic when I'm not actually working in the software myself. But anyway, so yeah, PHP support, for example, we want to move ahead with the upgraded version of PHP. We don't want to sit behind an old version. One of the great things is, one of the headaches that we found with CCK, creating content types and fields, what have you, that is now a lot easier. I probably should mention with our original project that we got a lot of help through Previous Next, and David's here who worked with us on some of the components of our original site, and we got we had some training delivered by Kim Pepper. He got us just over that hurdle of learning from the start. And I remember the developers saying, they went through the training and they said, okay, now we know that stuff, but now we have to do CCK fields, and I don't know what to do. So there was a bit of a moment there where we said, okay, we need to get into the hard stuff now. So it's great to have that code in, one of the useful modules that have been brought into core with 7. The admin interface is a lot more logical and easy to use. The CMS is more capable for our content people. The use of Drush is more effective, and so Drush is something that we incorporated on Brian's advice. We hadn't used it before, so that's been a great advantage. Brian gave us quite a bit of advice at the start of our project, and some of the things we didn't pick up, that he recommended, but a lot of that to do with our systems side, because we don't manage our systems. We have our systems team. That's their responsibility to manage the software that's there. Okay, so easy to use to manage our users. Methodologies that just make things or development more streamlined. Okay, I've got user management twice, but anyway, using themes much more effectively and efficiently. So that all those things of stuff that we found have been advantages with jumping into 7. So it'd be interesting to hear if anybody have any comments at the end of how their experience has been between the two. Here's some comments on some of the modules that we've used with this installation. So we have quite a complex design arrangement, and although I can't show you that, you'll know when it does get released. The use of context is pretty critical. We like the improvements with views. we have enjoyed the ability to create more complex layouts with panels. We've incorporated a new module which Reality Loop has contributed, and it provides an option for us to use the same functionality that you can see with Zoom, which is a remotely hosted service. And as of last week, there are 24 sites actually using that module. So the JW Player, that was another, the videos was a discussion point earlier this morning. The ability to add in closed captions into our videos is really important. We have got, we already run JW Play on our current site, version 4, and we're going to upgrade to version 5. And we going to appreciate the advantage that that provides because it's offering both HTML5 and Flash support. Okay, so we expect to be, we're using the lexicon module for our glossary system, which is providing an A to Z of special terms to do with the exhibition. Well, so there's a couple of characters which are from the language, that the Persian language, and we want to display those well in the correct order, and so that we're proposing we'll submit a patch to the module to enable that to happen. We've also got a request in for a patch onto Path Auto. So the search, we're putting in Solr indexing, and one of the key things for this project is that we, because it's an exhibitions platform that will be used to deliver a range of different exhibitions in the future, this platform will have different themes for each site. Will be subsites of the same subdomain. We need to be able to search within each site separately and isolate the search. And also we need to be able to gain more, get some more value out of the search results by displaying, say, icons and that sort of thing for the different content types that are in the search results. So that's where we can get the advantage by using Solr. Okay, we are doing some integration with our corporate data, the corporate site data, and this is including events and our multimedia items such as audio and video, which we have hosted on our corporate site. And there's going to be things like audio tours, and there's interviews with experts and those sort of things. So there's quite a bit of multimedia in there. A lot of events as well, from conference events, education activities, all kinds of things which you can book into to experience the exhibition. Well, all of these are being brought over via RSS, and we're tagging the items, or the content staff are tagging the items that are displaying there. Oh yeah, this picture reminds me the use of, oh well, the guy there's a couple of guys that have beards there, and I thought, well, okay, that's not such a bad thing to have a beard after all, if it's like that. Okay, so what are we in at the moment? Well, we're looking at some of the issues like cross-browser compatibility, where we want to be able to support HTML5, but then IE7 is giving us a real headache, and from that point of view. So that's a real problem for our developers. The main browsers that our users support is quite a strange kind of mixture. Our latest browsers are often way behind in terms of in comparison with world usage, world trends. Particularly IE9. Our IE9 users haven't kept up with world trends for some reason. We can't work out why. So what else have we done? We have delivered some other functionality outside of Drupal. For example, we're using a hosted version of a timeline function. That's via TikiToki. We've had a zoomable map custom built. I mentioned the JDoublet player already, and also things about Drush. So where to next? Okay, talk about the project team. Well, we have a web manager who's in the communications department and who's also the project manager. We have the dev manager who's myself and also our technical manager who's my supervisor. He's responsible for all the development across different platforms within the library. So we have our two Drupal developers. We have another developer we brought on sort of mid-project, and he's determined to be able to get through the project without learning anything about Drupal. So that means the goal for the rest of the team is to try and teach him something about Drupal, get him to use it by the end. So it may well happen, but we'll see what. We have a lead designer and also like a support designer. And we have our 3 content editors in the designers and the content editors are in the communications team. Okay, so the exhibition will be coming. The online exhibition will be coming on opening on the 14th of February for Valentine's Day. You can visit that domain now, love-and-devotion.com, and that'll take you through to some information about the exhibition. Okay, so that's not all I had to say, because I've got a couple other things I wanted to mention as well. I just wanted to say, like, some of my other points I mentioned, so we found that particularly through the launch of our corporate site last year, in 2010, not 2011, but 2010, that our federated publishing, that is getting publishing through other areas within our organisation, has been quite effective, and we're able to continue to improve that. It's not, rather than stagnating, that has happened with other CMS systems that the library has run. You get a new system in, and then the usage actually drops off after the original excitement. So instead, we're actually building up momentum with Drupal. So that's been really a great plus. We're also planning our next exhibition project, which will use the same system. And then we need to work out how to implement a new theme onto the same functionality that we've implemented. And also I remember, Dimitri was saying some of his original posts on Drupal.org. Well, it's funny, I was looking last night at some of my original issue comments a couple of years ago, and we worked with Rick DeBoer, and when he was with IVSA a couple of years ago on revisioning and module grants. And I remember posting some questions about Rick's modules, and then Rick was saying, what do you mean by this, Richard? And I didn't answer. I think I got lost at that point. So that was funny. But Rick helped us quite a bit with that aspect because of our federated publishing model, and also put us in touch with Victoria University, the Web Futures group there, and I know there's at least one member of that team here today. They gave us a lot of advice with our original Drupal journey. So, anything else? I think that's about it. Okay. Any questions? Yeah. Yep.
I have a question. I have a question, but it's actually to do with digitisation of artefacts in such institutions. So, is it the same as many others where the digitisation is actually driven by curatorial needs rather than having an ongoing digitisation process for all your holdings? I know the National Library, I think they've been doing it for about 15 years, and they've got about 3% of their collection done, as last I heard.
Yeah. It's really not my area of expertise, but yeah, I think you're right in that it's a very large job, and it's really hard to work out which items get done next. It's a constant discussion that's happening, and a very small proportion of stuff is digitized.
Yeah.
The other issue is material that's born digital, collecting those, because the library has had the effect of the Victorian legislation, which requires people to submit hard copies of all their published materials, because that's not happening with the digital material. So whereas we've had a complete record of published items in the library in hard copy, we basically haven't been collecting these electronic items. So that's been, from that point of view, it's possibly the period that we've been through recently may well be a bit of a black hole in our history because of that reason. But yeah, there's all kinds of different reasons why things get selected for scanning. One of the projects we've worked on is the AFL footy record, and that is now part of the library's collection. Every week the football record gets submitted to the library electronically, and it goes into our system. So you can look up the current footy record. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi, Richard, thanks. Just about getting your head around Drupal 7 and what it offers, did you go about it from looking at what you wanted to do with the requirements and then go find what Drupal 7 could do, or did you do a really big review of what Drupal 7 offered and then...
Yeah, I think it was one of those... Yeah, I think it was one of those elevator conversations that Daniel was talking about. I think we certainly discussed it a few times, and Brian was present in those conversations with our project manager, and we looked at what our capability was. We knew we could deliver in 6, but we didn't want to. One of the things was we didn't want to get left behind in terms of 7. So, say if we went through another year without starting on 7, it would be, from my point of view, I felt we'd be a year behind in terms of catching up to what 777 was being able to deliver. So, and as a result, the library would miss out on that benefit. So, yeah, I think that when you have the opportunity to grab that and implement a new system with the advantage that we've got Brian there to guide us through that situation, and we can do I think one of our developers did the first install. That's not a problem, but it's just getting through the basic concepts that are involved. So having a bit of guidance there was really great. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be useful.
So we had a big meeting before I really started on the project, and we went through what the brief was for what was to be developed. And I really pushed for Drupal 7 mainly because I thought all of the functionality that they wanted was at a ready enough stage. I think the only module that we really had was the JW player, which was a development module, and it didn't have audio captions and subtitle, closed captions and audio descriptions built in, but I don't think the Drupal 6 version of it had that anyway. So I created that patch. But basically, it's for the same reasons. I think Drupal 7's at a stage now where if you are building a new site, it just makes sense to build it in Drupal 7, because if you build a site now, it's probably maybe 2 or 3 years. Drupal 8's going to come out, and if it's a big budget project, then to spend all the money now and then have to potentially spend the same or half as much again to migrate to Drupal 8 if you want to maintain that system, it just doesn't make sense to me. So that was why I really pushed for it, and it worked so far. So
yeah.
It wasn't so much a matter of a question about choosing Drupal 7. It was about knowing sort of how much you looked at what Drupal 7 could do for and technologically, and or so kind of inventing things for your site because it was possible, or thinking through what the requirements were. I guess so. Say for search, you obviously decided Drupal 7 search was not good enough. Why wasn't it good enough? Why did you choose Solar? The choosing of the modules and how to make the most of what Drupal 7 offers, I guess.
The main reason to choose Solar, which exists for Drupal 6 as well, was that it allows us to search the content of uploaded documents. So when they're doing a search, they're not just searching the stuff that's been typed in as your body text or whatever. You can actually search within PDF and Word documents that are attachments. And so I think you tried to use Solar once before on another project, and
We worked with David on that, yeah.
yeah. So,
For our events, creating a faceted search.
but was there something where the guys hadn't been able to get it to work, or that what? Because you didn't have Solar working.
Yeah,
previously?
I mean, we
can't
had
remember.
a few issues, and it was a long kind of project we went through with David, but
Yeah.
I think we probably got it sorted out now. And
Yeah. So I'd already had experience setting up Solar as well, so that was like a lot of this was I've done a lot of these things or close to these things, so I could, in a consultative role at that first meeting, go, yes, we can do this in Drupal 7, and because I'm very active in the community and do development in core and contrib space as well, we knew we could either create it or use what was available pretty safely.
Did that answer all your questions? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just a question about the plan to reuse the structure of the site for other exhibitions and stuff.
Yeah.
So is that something that you'd also look at releasing as like make files or as a distro or make files or something like that to give other institutions a starting point for exhibition sort of space or something like that?
I don't think there's anything specifically in that we can.
Or even if Brian, you talk to it about how you're
Yeah.
planning to roll this out as a next exhibition comes along, and how are you planning to roll this out? Like, do you just as opposed to setting up from scratch again?
Can I just get a quick show of hands of how many people are developer-centric, just so I don't go on for too long about it? Okay, cool. So the real core of this project is the context module, and it allows us to trigger actions based on things like the path. So rather than use multi-site functionality, this really is two sites in one. So the Love and Devotion is one site which has its own look, and then driving all of this underneath is the actual exhibitions portal. So most of the content types that are used for content within the exhibitions, within Love and Devotion are actually content types that will be used on all exhibitions, apart from where there's something that's very unique. So using context, we're changing the theme when you go into the Love and Devotion. So we've got a domain name that Richard put up, but that redirects to, can I say the URL or not?
No, better not.
No, to the domain name / Love and Devotion. And so when you're at that URL, I've created custom code which will probably get contributed back as well for Apache Solar, which allows you to create custom search pages, but doesn't have any way to trigger those from Apache Solar only overrides the default search form in search block, and the Apache Solar pages doesn't create other blocks for you to have a search form within a section of a site. So I created a small custom module, which is very easy, but I'm going to release it anyway because there's a need for it, where based on the path, you can actually redirect the search result to your custom search page. So the custom search within each, and it's very, like at the moment I've created it in a way that'll be manual updated, but I'm going to release it as a contrib with a UI, so you can put a path in and say where it's got to direct to quite easily with Solar. And then using context, we're changing the theme when you're in /Love and Devotion over the default exhibitions portal theme. And so basically we'll just add more contexts when there's a new exhibition. And
Exhibitions portal continues to grow.
yeah, yeah.
And then with a different interface for each exhibition.
Yeah, and then a lot of the content that was coming through was fed from the corporate site. So we're using feeds, and rather than create a feed just for Love and Devotion, I created a feed for events. And then we have a taxonomy term that's part of that feed that's for Love and Devotion. That way, in the future, when there's another exhibition, whatever it may be, or you said that the new one you know the name of,
Yeah.
we'll add that taxonomy term on the corporate site, and it will be included in the feed, and then we just create views within each exhibition that give us the information for that exhibition. So basically it's really an exhibitions portal that drives Love and Devotion, and it was one of the struggles in the project was that the main driving project that I was working on was Love and Devotion, and all the design for the exhibition portal came after the Love and Devotion stuff. But I think we've got to a good point so far. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's every step along the way I was trying to, because I knew that was the aim, to try and create the content types in a way that would be reusable for future exhibitions. And then when we started to do the feeds, I'm like, well, hang on, you're going to do this for future exhibitions, so let's make it an events feed, not a Love and Devotion events feed, things like that.
Yeah, I'd rather not say rollout, because there is a fair bit of development work still to go with each one. It's just,
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's just a starting point, and you can reuse the same functionality. Yeah, but the theming is going to be considerable.
Some leverage
Yeah,
from the work you've done.
that's right. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Hi. You mentioned earlier that the designers were part of a communications
Yep.
mob, and that you guys were the developers.
Yeah.
Did the designers sort of inform you guys what sort of content they want on there? Did they deliver like actual mock-ups that you guys, the developers, would work to? And I'm just interested in like what that workflow was like between the developers and the designers.
Yeah, sure. They come up with a design brief, so it's a document that informs the design. Then they came up with some wireframes and that informed the technical specification, the project specification. So at each point, they have to get sign-off by the executive of the organisation. So there's quite a formal process of approval for that to happen. Then there's a couple of pages of mock-ups that are also brought together and approved. And then the designer went ahead and just basically filled out all their design elements that were required. So I think, it was, from the point of view of the developers, I think there's probably some experience that we've gained from this project we can feed back into that process, because it was fairly complex in terms of the design requirements, building that into the different variations in designs and page layouts and that sort of thing. Yeah, so yeah, as Brian said, 12 page types. Yeah, I guess there's actually a problem in that we are in two different teams, but it's kind of a bit of a compromise in terms of how we structure the teams. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Any more? Should we close it there?
Sure. Okay.
Everyone, please thank Richard for his presentation. Thanks for
Thank you very much.